and welcome to Ag PhD. I'm Brian Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for joining us. You know, harvest time is really exciting, but for me, I like pulling the soil samples and getting those results back. One of the first things that I look at on our soils is our base saturation calcium percentage and magnesium percentage. We'll talk about how important those two things are today.
On our farm about 25 years ago, we went to a bunch of no-till acres, and today we have a bunch of strip-till acres. Not the whole farm, but quite a few acres. Well, what happened when we changed tillage practices is it changed our weed spectrum. So all of a sudden now we have a whole bunch of winter annuals out there, including mare's tail, and it totally changes our control methods. So while Darren's thinking about harvest, I'm thinking about, hey, we got weeds to control right now so we don't have to have issues next year. We'll talk about how to stop those tough winter annuals today.
Well, one of those weeds that's out there right now is our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop this one as well. But first, here's our farm basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
Our Farm Basics time each week here on Ag PhD is all designed for the non-farmer. If you're a non-farmer, we really appreciate you watching Ag PhD. Well, you might not enjoy some of the agronomy stuff we talk about. We try to at least take this one segment of every show and talk about something that's going on in the farm, something that we need to relate to you as the non-farmer. Well, today our topic is harvest road safety. And really, let's just put it this way. Road safety anywhere around farms. It's obviously incredibly important and a very sensitive topic for us, so we wanted to talk about that just a little bit today.
Well, sometimes you'll see road signs as you get into farming areas that will caution you about slow-moving vehicles and tractors and this kind of thing, or maybe even livestock crossing the road. But at harvest time, wow, it could be just about anywhere because farmers are harvesting grain and many times they're hauling that grain 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles down the road. Now, when you're looking at large trucks moving, I think we're all pretty familiar with seeing large trucks, semi-trucks out on the road, and we kind of understand they've got a wide turning radius and you don't want to be on the inside of them when they're trying to make a left-handed turn, something like that. So you do have to be cautious of those trucks. But the thing I'm most concerned about at harvest time is really wide equipment, whether that's a big tillage tool heading down the road or a combine heading down the road. Those are things that are moving pretty slow, and that really changes the game.
All right, I've got three real big things here. Number one is when Darren and I were growing up on the farm, our dad always told us, drive in your lane. Do not drive on the shoulder of the road. If you drive on the shoulder of the road, you have given up your rights. So let's say we got a tractor, a slow-moving vehicle. He told us, drive down your lane. And I realize that for you as a non-farmer, or even if you are a farmer and you're just driving your pickup or something, you go, hey, that guy needs to move over. No, he doesn't. He has every right to that road. So just understand that. The farmer is supposed to drive in his lane. So that's number one. Number two, usually the farmer isn't going far. He's maybe on average going a mile or two. So what's it going to slow you up? Not a whole lot. And here's the big thing. When you see that slow-moving vehicle sign, that triangle on the back of a slow-moving vehicle, what that means is legally you are required to slow down to the speed of that vehicle before you go ahead and pass it. So you can't just fly around at 55 miles an hour. No way. If that vehicle is going 15 or 20, you have to slow down to 15 or 20 first. Then you can safely proceed around the vehicle to pass it.
And this is not just for the safety of the farmer driving that tractor, it's for your safety. As you're coming up really fast on one of these vehicles, if you get out in the passing lane and all of a sudden realize, I can't pass. Now you're going 55 miles an hour versus 15, and you've got to somehow pull back in behind this guy. It's a very dangerous situation, so you want to watch that.
And the other thing I'd say about this driving too fast around the guy that's got the slow-moving vehicle sign, it's not so much that we worry about, oh, you have to get back in behind the vehicle. It's simply that, hey, what if the vehicle decides it's going to turn? That tractor decides it's going to turn left. We've seen this happen by us where a tractor is turning left. In fact, they even have their turn signal on, but somebody was flying past them at 60 or 70 miles an hour. They didn't slow down to the speed of the slow-moving vehicle first. So just always keep that in mind.
And these rules are pretty obvious when you're out there during the daytime. At night, it gets even a little more tricky because, you know, there's flashing lights and everything on this big equipment, but you just can't get a feel for how big some of these things are, because it's unusual to see them going down the road.
Yep, so just use great care, take your time around any of this farm equipment, and I know it's frustrating because I've been in your situation too, where I want to get around somebody that's in a slow-moving vehicle. Take a deep breath for a second and remember it's probably only going to slow you up a minute or two, but just slowing up that minute or two could save someone's life.
You know, patience is really important when you're driving, but it's not important when it comes to weed control. If you have our Weed of the Week, you need to get it under control right now. We'll show you how coming up later in the show.
With new seed traits and chemistries entering the market, your crop protection equipment needs precision and adaptability. Hi-Pro Innovative Spray Technologies has the products to give your applications greater accuracy, less drift, and more coverage. Hi-Pro, right on technology, right on target.
A farmer's attention to detail is what makes the difference. You take the time for service management because you know how vital it is to your operation. You service your field like everything else, because soil sampling makes all the difference and gets the results you want. Download the app Soil Test Pro and start grid sampling today. Keep your farm growing strong. The more you test, the more you know.
Stop coring your bins with the AgriDry Gravity Grain Spreader. Traditional bin filling systems create uneven concentrations of grain and fine particulates. Uniform grain distribution allows even airflow throughout the entire bin, giving you more control over temperature and moisture content, increasing your grain quality and bottom line. Call us today for more information.
Dry Load Store, 1-855 AgriDry.
There are trillions of hardworking microbes right beneath your feet. Today, Monsanto BioAg is harnessing the power of microbes, creating microscopic farmhands that help plants access nutrients, enhance root and shoot growth, and handle stressful conditions throughout the season, protecting and maximizing your yield potential. We're turning 500 trillion microbes into 500 trillion new farmhands, ready for work. Nature, it's powerful technology.
At Fisher Tradition Farms, we Verus all of our acres, and any new additional acres are automatically Verus. Verus maps allow us to know exactly where our soil types change and how much they change. We use AgroLiquid's Enhance, High Energy N, and Access that allows us to add sulfur. We can customize our AgroLiquid products on a per pound, per acre basis as needed.
There are no marks of conflict lining this landscape, no echoes of economic hardship, just the unmistakable murmur of Mother Nature's hand. In the perennial quest to outperform, ensure your crop gets the nutrients it craves with the Veil Phosphorus Fertilizer Enhancer. Nothing helps protect your investment more, so you can grow confidently no matter what comes your way. Avail. Hold your ground.
One of the things that we hear from time to time is people talk about this calcium-magnesium ratio. Well, really what we're looking for is the ratio of calcium and magnesium, yes, but we are also looking for their ratios to potassium, sodium, hydrogen. Now, we talked about potassium, sodium, and hydrogen last week on the show. Well, this week we want to focus on the part of the base saturation test that is calcium and magnesium and why that's important for you to know. The calcium molecule is very big, the magnesium molecule is very small. So if you want better overall soil porosity, then you want more calcium in the soil. If you want that soil to hopefully retain a little bit more moisture, let's say it's a light soil, you might want your magnesium levels just a little bit higher. Ideally, what we're looking for in most soils is 65 to 80% calcium and in the range of 12 to 20% magnesium. Somewhere in those ranges usually gets your soil fairly well balanced.
So where do you turn when you say, well, my soil's way out of balance. I've got 40% calcium. How do I get that up to this 65 or 80 that Brian's talking about? Well, that's why we look at this ratio in this base saturation, because it gives us a good indication of what we're going to do. As we mentioned on a previous show, this base saturation is a ratio of these positively charged nutrients and what percentage of the binding sites on soil colloids they hold. Okay, that may sound a little complicated. Soil has a negative charge. Nutrients like calcium and magnesium have a positive charge and they attract to the soil like a magnet. So if we only see 40% of the sites that you can bind to on a soil particle are calcium, we need to get some more out there. But at what expense are we going to do it? Well, we see hydrogen at a really high percentage. Let's say it's at 20% or more. If we put lime on the soil, that's calcium carbonate, we're putting more calcium out there. That's going to take the place of the hydrogen and get things back in balance.
All right, that was complicated. Let's make this real simple for you. You've got two main ways you're going to raise your calcium levels, either lime or gypsum. Until you get your calcium level above about 60%, we're definitely looking at lime. Even if it's a high pH, I don't care. I don't care what your pH is. Until you're up above 60%, we're putting lime out there, all right? Now, if it's got high magnesium already, pick the right lime that's low in magnesium. But anyway, once you're above 60%, you could add more calcium with something like gypsum. Certainly there are many other ways you can get calcium out there, but for most farmers in the Midwest, those are the two most inexpensive forms of calcium, either lime or gypsum.
I love how Brian's brain works totally different than mine. When he said there are two ways you can fix this, and he talked about two different calcium sources, I was thinking, hey, you can either raise calcium or you can decrease those other things that are in too high a concentration. And this is what often happens in our soil tests. We see, wow, I've got all these nutrients that are at high levels, but I've got this one that's at a low level. And so you think, well, my only way to fix this is to raise the one that's at a low level. Well, sometimes you could decrease levels of other things too. And maybe you say, well, I'll get a crop that can use up a whole bunch of this other nutrient that's in excess, and then that'll pull it back down and get it in balance. So one way or the other, getting that calcium percentage high enough is an important thing. Now, along the way, you want to make sure that you don't get your magnesium percentage too far out of whack. For example, let's say that we're in a really light, sandy, low organic matter soil. Oftentimes we see magnesium percentages get really low. Maybe they get down into the single digits. I know there are spots on our farm, just small areas, mainly in these sandy, low organic matter type soils, where we see our magnesium percentage get into single digits. This is a really important thing because magnesium is the center of the chlorophyll molecule. So crop production lags drastically in those areas until we get that magnesium level up. Again, if your magnesium is low, you just need to apply more to your farm to fix it.
One last thing I'll say with calcium magnesium, you can loosen a tight soil with calcium. You can tighten a loose soil with magnesium. So just keep in mind, anytime you've got a heavy soil, you want to get more calcium out there. Anytime you've got a light soil, you typically want to get more magnesium out there. But again, we're looking for 65 to 80% calcium. We're looking for 12 to 20% magnesium, and it varies a little bit depending on if we're talking about heavy ground or light ground.
Hey, one last comment, Brian. When we're looking at high magnesium levels, and we do fight this on a number of our soils, you can't fix it all overnight.
Well, you can.
Well, okay, you can fix one problem, but create some other problems
that's the whole
along the way.
thing. So usually our limit is 2,400 pounds of actual calcium. That's about as much as you want to put on in any one application. Otherwise, you might end up tying up a bunch of other nutrients. But if you want to, you certainly can tie them up. So if you wanted to throw 30 tons of lime out there, you can. We wouldn't advise that. But if you wanted to instantly, overnight, fix, you know, hey, my calcium's too low, my magnesium's too high, you can do it all in one shot if you wanted to.
Yeah, because that tight, sticky clay type soil that's really high in magnesium, wow, you can turn that around by adding calcium. And
Absolutely.
I know on our farm, we've done that with large applications of lime for multiple years to get things turned around.
Yeah,
so
that
it does
totally
take a few
changes
years.
the ground. And you know, the other thing, if it's a tight soil, we got to talk about tile and a number of other stuff. But the whole point here today is if you manage your calcium magnesium right, it's going to dramatically help the productivity of your soil. And if it's a heavy soil, you can get more porosity, you can get more water movement through. If it's a light soil, you can actually tighten it up a little bit, hold more water if you get your magnesium levels up.
All right, calcium and magnesium on the base saturation test are two of the most important things that we look at on our soil test. We want to get those in line if we want to have high production.
Well, another thing you need if you want high production is control of our weed of the week. We'll tell you how to do it later in the show.
With the success of the Case IH Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us. But only Case IH offers a 5-axle design to give you a smoother ride, more power to the ground, with less berming and compaction. Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
For lower costs, higher production, Mantico Agri leads with versatility unmatched. Twister is the vertical tillage unit for no-till as well as conventional tillage. Avoid costly downtime with Twister's ease of maintenance. Its unique Coulter suspension allows it to follow the contour of the field yet remain forgiving in rocks. Our hydraulically adjustable Coulter angles mean you never leave the cab, making residue management easier, more efficient. Spring or fall, the Mandico Twister is the new leader. Check with your local dealer or visit mandicoagri.com.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
Oh, Ed, what are we presenting?
That Credenz soybeans are designed using smart genetics.
Look, state-of-the-art breeding advances the best germplasm.
Plus, tailored varieties for any field conditions with choice in herbicide-tolerant traits.
And Credenz soybeans come backed by Bayer's ongoing innovation.
Want increased yields and ROI? Plant the smarter soybean.
Talk to an authorized Credenz retailer or discover the right Credenz variety at credenz.bayer.us.
Always read and follow label instructions.
We had super dry conditions there at the end of the fall, probably some driest corn we've harvested. Head shell was almost nil, very minimal. We were down to a kernel or less per square foot with this head, and normally we thought we were doing good keeping down to that 3 kernels per square feet with our previous head, whether the corn's worth $3, $6, or $8 a bushel. Definitely puts more money in our pocket at the end of the day.
How will you stop winter annuals on your farm? Hey, if you're going to wait until next spring, good luck, because a lot of times these winter annuals are big. It's really difficult. So I know this isn't what you want to hear, but you may have to stop the combine this fall and control some winter annuals. We want to tell you how on today's show.
Stopping the combine sounds dramatic. Oh no, I can't do that. That would be a terrible thing for me to do. No, it's not. How long does it take you to spray 1,000 acres if you have one good day where the wind is not blowing? Well, you can get it all done in one day. So it's not like we're saying stop the combine for a month and just focus on spraying here. So don't get too alarmed right off the bat. But when we're looking at winter annuals, Brian's right. This is the best time of year to get them under control. The guys that are raising winter wheat, they fully understand this because they're fighting winter annuals as their primary weeds. And they know if they don't get good weed control in the fall, stopping those weeds in the spring is tough because they'll have a big root system and that plant will have a huge head start on your spring crops. Yeah, but the
big difference here, Darren, is those winter wheat guys, their crop is already in the ground or it's going to be in the ground real quickly. Well, if you're raising corn or soybeans or even spring wheat and you're worried about winter annuals, you say, what's everybody concerned about? I got 4, 5, 6 months until I even need to be worried about this issue. No, you need to think about it today. So here's what we want you to do. And the reason why I say stop the combine, you've got to spray on a nice day. If we're talking sunny and 70-degree plus, that's ideal. So you might only have 1 or 2 of those days. Like where we farm, we don't have many of those days in the month of October. So that's where we literally have to stop the combine and just spray in the afternoon. So we're not going to spray 1,000 acres in the afternoon probably on our farm. But if we did 500 acres in an afternoon, that's possible if we really hustle and we're all ready to go. But the whole thing is we've got to be spraying these weeds now so we get them under control going into the winter. Then we have 2 big benefits. Number 1, yeah, we should have fewer weeds next spring, but why? Well, the big benefit here of spraying now is we get help on winter kill. Winter kill is going to finish off a lot of the weeds that the herbicide doesn't quite finish off themselves.
Well, the other thing, Brian, is we can spray different herbicides now in the fall that we can't spray in the spring right before we plant the crop. Primarily, I'm talking about 2,4-D and dicamba. Now, you may say, hold on, I use those on my farm right before planting. If you do, you're taking a lot of risk.
Well, wait a second. Whoa. Yeah, it just depends on the crop we're talking about. In front of corn, and you want to spray Banville or Clarity, no problem. But in the fall, you can spray Banville or Clarity in front of a soybean crop. In the fall, you can spray 2,4-D going into corn if you wanted to in the spring. You just can't do those things in the spring with certain crops. So what we want you to do is spray a good strong rate. We like Banville or Clarity the best, but 2,4-D also works pretty well.
And the other thing to mention is you may use a residual product to get some longer control too. Something like Valor would be a good fit in many cases.
Well, once again, spray those winter annuals this fall. Hit them on an afternoon when it's sunny and above 70 degrees, and you should have pretty good success.
Well, one other weed that you want to make sure you have good success with is our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how to stop it coming up next.
The Weed of the Week is sponsored by the Enlist Weed Control System from Dow AgroSciences, a new herbicide and trait system that will build on glyphosate.
Farming isn't just in the land, it's in you. Take control of weeds like never before. Enlist builds on the Roundup Ready system, combining proven control of a new 2,4-D and glyphosate in Enlist Duo herbicide. Protect what matters without changing the way you farm. Talk to your seed or crop protection supplier today.
Weed of the Week is a primary noxious perennial weed. It's leafy spurge.
Now, usually when you hear leafy spurge, you say, oh boy, we got to really talk about this and go through all the control methods and everything. Let me just first say there's a biological control. There are these bugs, leafy spurge, what are they, beetles, Darren?
Yeah.
And you know, you can certainly do that. Otherwise, here's how we really want you to control leafy spurge. Use Tordon. Tordon is amazing. Just understand that Tordon kills trees and it kills fish. But use a quart of Tordon. You'll wipe out your leafy spurge. It's gone. It's done for good.
And don't forget, don't just spray the patch, spray outside that patch as well, because leafy spurge has rhizomes, so it's got roots shooting underneath the ground that are going to pop up new plants. So you want to make sure you have a strong enough dose to kill all of those things at one time.
Yep, don't mix 2,4-D with it, don't use Grazon, don't use anything else. Tordon's the best thing when we're talking non-crop or pasture. Anywhere you can use Tordon, it's awesome. Out in crop fields, we're not too worried about it. In corn, I'd use status post-emerge. In soybeans, I'd use Roundup. You don't have a lot of options, but those are definitely the best in those crops.
Well, it's all time for our Weed of the Week, leafy spurge, but Iron Talk is coming up next.
Compaction created during planting leaves thousands of dollars of potential yield in your fields. Copperhead Ag has developed the Furrow Cruiser spiked closing wheel to close the seed trench more effectively. With a unique combination of closing power and control, the Furrow Cruiser provides earlier, more even emergence and higher stand counts, returning yield potential and putting profit back in your pocket. For more information on why you should never run a traditional closing system again, visit copperheadag.com.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
My soybeans are 100% Liberty Link. I started the Liberty Link approximately 6 years ago, going with the glyphosate system before that, and just noticing that I wasn't getting the control that I really wanted. Started in with the Liberty Link system, and it's been very satisfactory. Well, the velvet leaf is probably my most hated weed. I'll walk across a field 40 rods to pull a velvet leaf if I know it's there. And when I did spray, there were a lot of velvet leaf out here, and I have not found any. And I use a pre on the beans, and we can just come back and clean it up with our Liberty, and it does a good job. If you ever break out of weeds, you know, you may be losing 20 to 30% as far as your production goes. Well, looking out across my bean field, I'm seeing that, you know, the weed control's been good.
The Liberty Link system, a simply better solution, now backed by the Liberty Weed Control Guarantee, because Liberty is simply better weed control by Bayer.
I would recommend Morton for many reasons, but one is that they have a long history of standing behind their buildings.
Our sales experience with Morton was a nice experience. You know, they told us what it was going to cost, what it was going to be, you know, how it was going to run, and it worked out really well for us. Morton has built me one heck of a nice building, and it should stand for a very, very long time. I was very happy with the workmanship.
Check us out online at mortonbuildings.com.
We've been dealing with AgriLiquid a little over 7 years. I was skeptical, to be honest, but I watched the results from several clients. Those results were increased production and reduction in input cost. With AgriLiquid, we saw an increase in the size of the initial root mass. For ranchers, that means forage production a lot quicker. AgriLiquid works. The bottom line is profitability.
There are trillions of hardworking microbes right beneath your feet. Today, Monsanto BioAg is harnessing the power of microbes, creating microscopic farmhands that help plants access nutrients, enhance root and shoot growth, and handle stressful conditions throughout the season, protecting and maximizing your yield potential. We're turning 500 trillion microbes into 500 trillion new farmhands, ready for work. Nature, it's powerful technology.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
The AFS Connect Farm Management System from Case IH connects you, and only you, to the information you need most from your equipment, from anywhere, at any time. AFS Connect, only from Case IH.
As harvest begins, soil testing and fall fertilizer plans follow closely behind. Today's Iron Talk should give you some food for thought to increase the return on your fertility investments. Fall fertilizer can be great because you give dry fertilizer products like MAP and DAP more time to break down and become available. Plus, it's one less job you have to do next spring. However, it's my contention many farm operations will be actually wasting money on fertilizer this fall, and that means there's an opportunity to get a better return on your fertilizer investment dollar. Here are a few ideas. First, fall urea is many times a bad idea. Urea is not the best form of N to use when you've got months before you'll plant and there's a possibility of heavy snow or rain between now and then. Anhydrous or ammonium sulfate would be better options. Otherwise, wait until spring to save yourself 10, 20, maybe even 60% of the product that you'll lose by putting it out right now. Second, banding is much more efficient. Especially if you have a high calcium or a high pH soil, nutrient tie-up is a real thing. For example, when calcium ties up phosphorus, it becomes insoluble in water and may never come available for a future crop. By banding, you keep the nutrients concentrated so they naturally resist tie-up. Also, you can protect nutrients like phosphorus by using a veil or just using a protected phosphorus source like ProGerminator. Third, deep placement is much better than shallow incorporation or leaving nutrients on the soil surface. We prefer to use a knife and put our P&K down 10 inches deep in the soil where they're safe and available for our crop all throughout the growing season. Protecting nutrients from runoff and nutrient stratification in the top few inches of soil is a good idea for crop production, but it's also good for our whole industry when it comes to preserving water quality. Fall fertilization is going to happen to some degree, and it's not always a bad thing. Just pick the right products, use the proper equipment to be efficient and environmentally conscious. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now back to the show.
Closed captioning for Ag PhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
On your farm, you need speed and year-round effectiveness in your tillage program. The Quick Till from Norwood Sales allows you to move quickly through your fields, maximizing time and improving yield. Constructed of heavy-duty materials, the Quick Till is ideal for both spring and fall applications, from preparing a healthy seedbed early in the season to breaking up corn residue after harvest. For more information about how a Quick Till can improve fields on your farm, call Norwood Sales today.
That's our time for today, but before we say goodbye, we want to invite you to tune in to the Ag PhD radio show, where we take your live phone calls each weekday at 2 p.m. Central on Sirius XM Channel 147.
Don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.
While the population of our planet grows each year, the amount of farmland we have to grow food for everyone becomes less. According to the USDA, farmers will need to produce as much food in the next 40 years as they have in the last 500. To learn how they are doing it sustainably, visit the Responsible Nutrient Management Foundation at rnmf.org.